Two. Welcome to Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. I'm your host, Sadia, and this is my mother, Emma. Hey, Emma.
Hey, hi.
Hey.
Hi, my sweetness.
Hey. All right, so this week's topic, we're going to be talking about Jewish encounters. There's a thing in the
What was
Bible.
that? What was that movie, Encounters of the Third Kind or something? What was that? What was that
I think
sci-fi movie?
I think so. I think Encounters of the Third Kind, something like that. Yeah.
Ooh,
So there's
oh, by the way, I was going through YouTube,
yeah.
and there was a on the Jack Benny show. One of his shows, he had Rod Serling as a guest.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they did a comedy. They did like a comedy thing of Jack Benny being in the Twilight Zone.
That's awesome.
You watch it some on YouTube. It's really funny. But the thing is, the last joke that Rod Serling tells, I think your generation wouldn't understand what that's about. See, one of Jack Benny's standard comedy routines or lines was that every year he insisted he was 39, no matter how old he got.
Yes.
He always said he was 39. So it happened. So Rod Serling at the end of the episode says anybody who insists for so many years that he's 39 is definitely living in the Twilight Zone.
Oh, it's cute. Yeah. So this week's topic, we were going to talk about Jewish encounters. A lot of times I know, like, I get asked questions a lot by different people. You know, they're curious about it. They want to know. And you were saying that you also, when you'd go on Mifsaim, when you'd go ahead and give out Shabbos candles and things like that, that you were asked different things.
Yes and no, but I've had some very strange things happen, not only in Mifsaim, but in general when it comes to information about Judaism. And I've had some very strange reactions from people that I wasn't expecting. Like, okay, here's an example. For some reason, there are some people who, even if you give them benign information, they have this emotional reaction to it. Like, I'll give you an example. A couple years ago, I was in shul during Yizkor for my parents. And I don't know what other groups do, but in Chabad, for the first year of Yizkor, you're supposed to be there, but you're not supposed to actually say Yizkor. You're just supposed to listen. And then the following year is when you actually say Yizkor. So I was in shul, and this woman comes over to me, and she said, my mother passed away a few months ago. Do I say Yizkor? So I said to her very benignly, I said, it's my understanding that the first year you're supposed to be here at Yizkor, but not say anything. And then the second year is when you actually say Yizkor itself. The woman burst into tears, ran out of the shul. I mean, I had no idea I would get a reaction like this. And your sisters were very upset. She goes, Emma, how could you have upset this woman so much? Look what you did. I said, I wasn't trying to upset anybody. She asked me for information, and I just gave her what I thought was accurate information. Then there was another time, this woman was asking me about Chalav Yisrael. Mm-hmm. So I started to explain to her, because she says, milk is milk. How, why do we have people that are medactic about Chalav Yisrael? So I said, well, that there are certain foods that are what we call spiritually sensitive foods, that they pick up the spirituality of whatever is around them when they're being produced. One is, of course, wine, grapes, and the another one is milk. So,
yeah.
So, I'm sorry. So, I started to explain this to her, and that, you pick up the spirituality of these type of foods. And so you want who's ever watching the milking, or who's ever, producing the grape juice or the wine, to be preferably, a rabbi, or it can also be a Jewish woman, but someone who's an Orthodox Jew who's thinking Torah thoughts. The woman screamed, I don't want to hear it, and ran out of the room. This is when I was working at a daycare center, and I looked at the other daycare mother that was working with me, and we kind of looked at each other, and I said, my goodness, I guess I shouldn't broach such controversial topics as milk. And later on, a few hours later, the woman approached me in the hall and apologized profusely and said she knows that that was not an appropriate reaction, but that there were certain personal things going on in her life that I kind of
Yeah,
struck a chord. But
obviously.
it's like I was just giving information.
That reminds me of I think one time we were going on with sign, we were asking people to shake the lulav and esrog at 7 Mile Market, and this one guy just got very upset. It was like, quit harassing me. I'm like, we're not harassing anybody. If you want to, like, we're not chasing anyone. We're just there. You know, I was even remember one time, I know in Israel, you're not allowed to ask people if they want to put on tefillin or shake lulav and esrog. You're not allowed to. It's illegal. It's they have it under like a proselytizing law. And it's just weird about people getting so sensitive about it and angry about it. Like, I honestly like I can understand their perspective. It's just very not hateful, but like very much upset with their personal Jewish journey. They have problems with it, and you know, it's something that it bothers me when I see people like that. It really does. It bothers me when I see people get so upset about Judaism and about doing Jewish things. Like, sir, like I can understand if someone's being a Holocaust survivor and not wanting to put tefillin on ever again. Like, I get that. But you have people like they get so angry and spiteful about Jewish culture. It's more of like, in my opinion, like you're not helping the cause, you're making it worse. You know, and I remember speaking to this one ger, and he was talking about, you know, how he couldn't say Kaddish for his mother because technically his mother isn't really his mother, al pi halacha, according to the Jewish law. And it was very upsetting. And like, I told him that if he wanted to, he could, but because he really is an orphan anyways. And that's something that I think there's parts of Judaism that are very, very hard to understand or very hard to accept, because it's not, especially in today's world, there's parts of Judaism that are like realistically, like you can't do, or you shouldn't do, or you have to do, or you must do, or different obligations that you have. And people want to live their own world without restrictions, they want to be free, and they feel like Judaism is restricting. But when there's restrictions, I feel like that's when you're most free, because that's when you're most creative, and that's where you most understand, well, how do I do this? Well, how to do that? What do I understand here? What do I understand there? You know, I remember I was working, and someone was asking me what my schedule was for Friday. And I explained to them what I had to do to calculate, you know, what time I could leave on Friday by judging by the distance, what time is sunset, like the basic things that every Jew has to do. And one of my bosses saw me just do the calculations in my head. He's like, "You have to do that every single Friday?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he was just impressed with the knowledge that was needed. And I think that's like, I think having a restricted life, in my opinion, gives you growth.
It's like it's interesting how I like the way you put that, because I remember when I was going to college and majoring in music education, and at that time the big educational thing was freedom, open classrooms, free expression, open-ended discussions. And we found the problem was that the children lacked the skills, and if the children lacked the skills, which they did, they couldn't even begin to be creative. You need to have the basic skills, to be creative. And it's like you said, when you it's a combination of, I once heard this one woman who was she was very big in the conservative movement, and she said she appreciates the mitzvahs because it's a personal, to her, she said, this is a personal discipline, and this is good for us. It's good to have discipline in your personal life, and that's what Judaism offers her. And then I heard, this is really interesting. I used to teach also in a Reform temple and afternoon Hebrew school, and the cantor of the Reform temple, I asked him about bringing in a couple of our people to talk to the class about tefillin and Shabbos candles, and he was all for it. It was a great idea. So as a matter of fact, he told me, he said he had some friends that had become Baalei Teshuvos and Baal Teshuvos. So when he introduced, I got a couple of gentlemen from our congregation to come in, and when he introduced them to the class, he said, what many of us look at as restrictions in Judaism, many other people look at as being very spiritually fulfilling. And we're going to hear about some of those mitzvahs that people find very spiritually fulfilling. And that's how he introduced these two men from the congregation to talk to the class about tefillin and Shabbos candles.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's like, I don't know about anybody else, but I know my experience with fasting. When I fast, there's a moment that I have that's, if I feel very, very free and calm and very sensitive to my environment. And especially like when it's Yom Kippur, which is coming up. You have those moments where you're fasting on Yom Kippur, and you're not necessarily focusing on hunger pains. You're just focusing on what you don't have, what you are as a human being. And it's just, I wish people that were so against Judaism would be able to experience it, at least from my perspective, just for a hot minute, because I think by that way they won't be so angry with it or spiteful with it. I see some people who are just angry and spiteful with it and constantly put it down, and it's gross, in my opinion. It is.
Yeah, but I'm very surprised to hear what you told me about Chabad in Israel, that you're not allowed to approach people about
No.
tefillin or benching with Israel, because I've seen pictures of Chabad people in Israel doing
what
that.
they do is, what they don't approach. They don't approach. They just have their stands and they stand there. There might be some people that you're not allowed to approach them. I mean, they're not allowed to approach you. And as a matter of fact, one government representative was trying to make it illegal for I think people under the age of 18 to randomly put on tefillin. Yeah,
even if they want to do it on their own volition.
Mm-hmm, it was a whole thing.
Do they lack for population in their prisons that they really need to make criminals out of honest people? I mean, I cannot understand a Jewish country where you're being put in jail because you put on tefillin. Now that's interesting.
Well, that's what's so frustrating and sad about Israel sometimes. I feel it's like it's honest to God, in my opinion, it's a sad part.
Yeah,
it's the real sad part of it.
I know I know the Israeli government. I was every now and then I communicate with a friend of mine who's living in Israel, and I asked him about like what's going on with Israeli politics, who's in charge, who's the latest, who's the who's the prime minister, yada yada. And he says people have gotten to the point, it's like total hefker. They don't care anymore. They're just so irritated with the antics of the government. And I guess if the whole situation is just gonna have to be solved when Mashiach comes and we have the Beis HaMikdash.
Yeah, that's all there is to it. I mean, I look at all the look at the giant train wreck of everything, and I just think to myself, like, whatever. It's gonna be taken care of sooner or later. I mean, it's the whole policy is all messed up.
Oh, well, so let's look. Okay, let's go. Let's change
Focus
the topic.
on higher other things.
Yes, higher authority. But anyway, today I had like we mentioned before, we're talking about people being afraid of information. I mean, I had a pamphlet. I was in BJ's today. They have challah that they sell there. Pas Yisrael challah that's packaged. And so this Jewish woman noticed me, going through looking for basically I look for the latest dates so I can get one that's fresher. They have the date, when it was on the package. So she mentioned something about her shul, that she likes these challahs very much, that her shul uses them for their kiddushes. And yes, they're very good. That's why I buy them also. So anyway, she was an older Jewish woman. And I said, excuse me, I said, do you mind if I ask you something? I said, do you use the mikveh? She goes, no. I said, I'm passing out pamphlets, informational pamphlets about mikveh. I showed it to her. I said, would you like to read one? She goes, no. I said, okay, you sure? And it's like she jumped back almost. She was like afraid of the pamphlet. And I said, it's just an informational pamphlet.
Yeah, once they say no, just walk away. Once they say no, just walk away.
Yeah, I did. So I said, okay. I just said, okay. I wasn't about to press her, but I was just surprised how she wouldn't even read about it.
Because I love it how like they're okay with all types of other stuff, but when it comes to it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Whatever. This world's upside down. This world's top.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to. That's the way it's supposed to be before Mashiach comes.
Yeah, but it's been like this for a while, so who knows? Yeah.
But you mentioned something else about people getting angry about Judaism. I was discussing this very topic with when I was working at this Reform temple with the principal, and we were talking about people scapegoating Judaism. They blame Judaism, for all their ills and all their problems. Even scapegoating rabbis, every time there's a problem, it's the fault of the rabbis. It's the fault of the rabbis.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think it's like once Jews stop hating themselves and their culture, I think people will start respecting us and our culture. I think there's way too much self-hate going on. Like, seriously, we don't need that, but it's there. And I just don't think it's very positive. I don't think it's going to help.
I saw, it's interesting to talk about like self-hating, like Jews who are self-hating, i.e. Woody Allen. Woody Allen's famous for his portrayal of the downtrodden self-hating Jew.
Yeah.
But I was watching this program once. It's about this man. He's this Nebuchadnezzar. He's a Jewish guy. He's a lawyer. And there's this one scene where his girlfriend has had it with him and decides to leave him. And he comes up and she's moving out. She's called the moving people. And he walks over to the moving people and you see these big macho moving guys like behind the wheel of this big truck. And they talk to the guy and they have Israeli accents. He goes, hey, are you Israeli? They go, yes, we're Jewish, and you should be proud of it too, as they pull away in this big moving van.
I think I remember watching that with you. Yeah. All right, that's our time. Thank you guys for listening. Really appreciate it. And check us out on Facebook and everything else. All right.
Okay, you have a great Shabbos, honey. Love you. Mwah.
Hugs and kisses.
Hugs and kisses.
Thank you for listening to Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. Please like and share and find us on Facebook at Jewish Boy Calls His Mother Podcast. We are looking forward to hearing from you.